Hi guys, my name is Alex, and if you want to see how I contour and highlight my face, then please keep watching. So for today's video, I'm going to be focusing on contouring and highlighting. So contouring is basically taking an area of the face that you'd like to help shape or define, and then highlighting is going to complement this by bringing the areas in your face where the natural light hits and making them pop by lightening those areas. Okay, so we're going to get into this video. Okay, so for my first step, I already moisturized my face, so now I'm just going to use the Pores No More Primer by Dr. Brandt. So now that I have my primer on, I'm going to use my foundation, and I use the Lancome. I use a foundation by Lancome. I don't want to mispronounce the name, so there you go. And then I use the color 435 Bisque W. So I'm just going to shake it up or pat it down, smack it around. And again, nothing fancy, just using my hand. And for foundation, I like to just put a couple dots around my face, and then I'm gonna blend it out with I might have used too much. I'm gonna blend it out with this brush that I have. So before you contour and highlight, you're gonna want to use foundation as your base, as I'm doing, because you're gonna want an even base to work with. Even base, even face, you know? To blend out my foundation, I'm going to be using my Tarte brush. I'm just going to like kind of pat it down and then blend. Moving on. So now that my foundation is on, I'm going to take my concealer for the highlighting part. We're going to do that first. So I like to use my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and I'm going to use the color Tan. So for highlighting, you're going to want to take a shade or two lighter than your skin tone, just to make these areas pop. So I'm not going to take too much. I think that's been my problem lately. I've been packing it on, and you don't need to. Shape tape is really more full coverage, so you really don't need that much. Okay, so we're underneath the eyes. I'm just going to basically make like a triangle shape. See? Okay, and then I like to, okay, that should be good. And then I'm gonna do a couple lines on my chin here. It's fine. And then down the center of my nose. And then I make basically like a chicken foot shape. My forehead here. Okay, that's good. So now I'm going to take my beauty blender and blend this out. So now that I blended out my concealer, I'm going to take my Anastasia Beverly Hills stick foundation in the color Cocoa. You can also use a concealer in a shade or two darker than your skin tone. I use the stick foundation. I feel like it works just as well for me. So I'm going to be taking this and putting it in the hollows of my cheeks so you can suck it in and see where that line is. And down the bridge of my nose, and then I'm going to put some on my forehead, and then to define my jaw. So we're going to take this and put it here. Don't need too much. I feel like this is a really dark color. Okay, and bridge of my nose. Gentle. And then on my temples, and bringing it around. One more here, here. Just a couple lines for fun. There we go. My jaw. I usually don't do this, but for the sake of the video, I'm gonna do this. I usually just don't define my jaw. So I also like to connect my line here, my eyebrow and my contour line. So since my contour stick, well, since my foundation stick is a little too big to do that, I'm just gonna take this flat brush and I'm going to connect it, so you can see. Okay, that's good. Really defined there. So now I'm going to take my beauty blender and blend out my forehead and underneath in my jaw. Taking the same beauty blender, we're going to do this first. And to blend out my cheeks, I like to use this brush by Morphe. So I'm just gonna basically like pat and then circular motion to blend. Now that I blended out my contour and my highlight, I'm gonna be taking my Kat Von D translucent powder. So I'm just gonna use the translucent powder on the areas that I highlighted. So that is underneath my eyes here. This is gonna help set, and for people with oily skin like myself, it's just gonna help you throughout the day to not get oily. I also do it on the sides of my nose. I do use a lot of powder on my chin, and then even though I didn't highlight here, I am going to use powder there just to help bring out the contour. Then I'm going to use it on my forehead. I do feel that the translucent powder just helps make everything look a little more airbrushed and smooth out the skin. So I'm very generous on my head. So now that I have translucent powder all over my face. I'm going to bake for a few minutes and I'll be right back. And I'm back. So now that I did bake, I'm going to be taking my Bobbi Brown sheer powder brush and just buffing out the powder. Okay. One of the last steps, I'm going to be taking my De-Slick Urban Decay setting spray. This is good for people who have oily skin. It works well. So just a few spritz, fan it out. There you have it, guys. That is how I contour and highlight my face, and I'll actually be right back with a little more of a presentable look. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe button down below. And I'll see you in the next one.